Hello, my friends, and welcome to Math Time with Miss Annalisa. Today we're going to be talking about subtraction, and we're not going to get into any problems that are too complicated. All of our problems are going to be very basic. We're just going to talk about what subtraction is, get you guys familiar with how it's similar to addition, even though they're different, and also talk about real-world problems that will be similar to the ones that you might encounter and that you might use subtraction for someday. So when we talk about subtraction in relation to addition, I'm assuming that a lot of you guys know a lot about addition already because you're moving on to a subtraction video. Normally students learn about addition before subtraction. But just to review, addition is where you have two or more parts and you're looking for the whole thing. So let's say that you know how many of each type of cookie you have in your pantry and you want to know how many cookies you have left to get you through the next week. Well, if you know that you've got 4 chocolate chip and you know that you have 5 oatmeal and you know that you have 7 peanut butter, what are you going to do? You're going to add to figure out what the total is. And in this case, I know that 5 plus 7 is 12, plus another 4 is 16. So I've got a total of 16 cookies. So these 3 are all parts, and down here is my whole. With subtraction, you start with the whole, and you know one or more of the parts, and what you're doing is you're looking for the missing part. A lot of people talk about subtraction as taking away, but you're not necessarily taking away. You're looking for what's missing. So let's say that you were working on a 500-piece puzzle and you were down to the end and you didn't know how many pieces were missing, but you knew that pieces were missing and you knew that you had to find them. Well, one way to figure out how many pieces are missing is, you just go hunting for them and you fill them in the puzzle pieces you go. But if you really needed to know how many were missing, you could count the total that you had already in the puzzle, subtract that from 500, and then you would know what the missing part is. So sometimes it's about being a detective, and it's not always about seeing how much is left over after something is taken away. Sometimes it's about seeing what part is missing from the whole, and that's what subtraction is. So for an example, let's say that we have a happy family living together in your basement. Maybe you went out one day and you adopted a couple caterpillars and a turtle and just didn't tell your parents, no big deal. Don't do that. And then let's say that one day the turtle escaped. So you started out with your whole. You started off with your big happy family, your 3 guys, and then you took 1 away. So you subtracted 1. So if I were to write this out in terms of math, if I were to tell this as a math story instead of an animal story right here on my page, I would say 3 minus 1. And then what would I have left over? What's the missing part? 2. So now I have my 2 friends. Let's say the opposite happened. Let's say that you had your 3 happy friends here, and instead of this guy leaving, these 2 caterpillars made a break for it. They said, "We're sick of your leaves. We want something that tastes better." 3 minus 2. What's 3 minus 2 gonna be? If 3 minus 1 was 2, then 3 minus 2 is gonna be, that's right, it's just the other part. So 3 minus 1 is equal to 2, and 3 minus 2 is equal to 1. Let's talk about some other examples. Let's say that you have $4 and you want an ice cream, and an ice cream costs $1. How much money are you going to have after you give it away? Well, let's see. If I take 1 away, I've got 3 left, right? So if I were to write this out in mathematical terms, I've got 4 here. Taking away 1, I'm giving it to the ice cream man. and now I have 3. And the same would be true for the opposite, right? Let's say the ice cream man comes back and he says, just kidding, this time it's $3. You're like, can't spend $3 on ice cream, except I really want ice cream. Well, 4 minus 3, you have to give away 3 of your dollars, would be 1. What if the ice cream cost $2? How would I write that out? If I started with 4 and I gave away 2 and I wanted to see how many I had left, that's right. I would write 4 minus 2. And then if I start out with 4 and I take 2 away, 1, 2, give those to Mr. Ice Cream Man, I have 2 left over. So in that instance, I have 2 equal parts. And it doesn't matter which 2 I give to the ice cream man. Doesn't matter if I give him these $2 or these $2. He'll take them both. They're both good. So it doesn't really matter. I can say 4 minus 2 is 2, but it's the same. Doesn't matter which 2. So I'm not going to bother to write another equation under that one with the same part. So there are a few different ways that you can subtract until you have your subtraction numbers memorized. And it is a really good idea to make yourself some flashcards with all the numbers between 1 and 20 minus all the numbers between 1 and 20 up to that biggest point. So you wouldn't have 1 minus 20, but you would have 1 minus 1, and then you would have 2 minus 2 and 2 minus 1, and so on and so forth. And if you practice those, and if you use those as flashcards and go through them every day, then you'll be able to learn your quick subtraction facts in no time and be able to do a lot of this math in your head. So let's talk about some of the different ways that you can subtract if you don't have those numbers memorized just off the top of your head from groupings from addition. So one way is by counting. The same way that you would count up in addition, you can count back with subtraction. So if you have 7 minus 3, and you start with 7, and then you count down 6, 5, 4, that's 3 here, you're 3 here, so you're left with 4. The other thing you can do, which a lot of people find easier because most people find addition a lot easier than subtraction, is actually counting up. So you know that the whole thing you're looking for is 7, and you know that one part is 3. Well, instead of counting backwards in your head from 7, you can count forwards in your head from 3. So you can start with the part 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then how many do you have left? You have 4. The last thing you can do, which I don't recommend if you're dealing with larger numbers because it involves a lot of time, is drawing out the numbers. So if you want to know 7 minus 3, you can just draw out 7, cross out 3, and then you can see your 2 different parts. You've got 3 over here, and then you've got 4 left over that haven't been crossed off. So 7 minus 3 is equal to 4. Obviously, that's going to take a long time if you've got really big numbers. So I recommend getting those numbers memorized as quickly as possible and using counting if you don't have them memorized in the meantime. So let's also take a very quick quiz and just see if you understood the very basics of subtraction. I'm going to give you a few problems. So here are your problems. Number 1, in case you have any trouble reading, 5 minus 3. Number 2, 7 minus 1. Number 3, 4 minus 4. Number 4, 9 minus 2. And number 5, 8 minus 0. So remember, you're looking for the missing part. You can use counting if you happen to have those numbers memorized or happen to just know what the missing part is. You can also check by counting. And good luck. I'm going to ask you guys to take a minute to pause it if you really want to test and see how well you know subtraction. So I encourage you to test yourselves if you think you understood, and if you don't think you understand it just yet, then keep watching because there's definitely more to learn about subtraction than what we've got in 10 minutes. So 5 minus 3 is going to be equal to 2. I could have counted up from 3, and then I've got 4, 5, so that's 2. 7 minus 1 is 6. Maybe this time I would have counted down because that would have been easier since I just have to go down by 1. So 7, 6. Got my 6 here. 4 minus 4, I like to think that that's easy. If I've got $4 and I need to give my friend $4, I'm not going to have any left. This part is, the whole is the same as the part, so I can't have anything left over. 9 minus 2 is equal to 7. Again, I could count down, I could count up, whatever's easiest. And 8 minus 0, well, if I'm not taking anything away from the whole, then of course this part is going to be the same, right? If I've got 8 pieces of fruit and I want to know how many of them are oranges and I've just got apples and oranges and no apples, well, then I must have 8 oranges. So because this video is designed for kids, comments are automatically disabled, and I think that's probably for the best, just to protect anyone from any trolling. But if you have anything that you want to see, any lessons that you want covered, this one was requested to me privately by another teacher, just the basics of subtraction, and then I'll be going over borrowing a little bit later. But anything that you're interested in seeing, please feel free to send me a private message. Please feel free to do that for story time or any other areas too. My expertise kind of peters out around calculus, but I am happy to do my best to help with just about anything leading up to that and help keep people a little bit more sane as we all navigate this new pandemic together. Thanks a lot and have a great rest of your day.